Welcome back to Cake With It, and today we are making a macaron cake. And no, it is not a macaron, but it looks like a macaron. Welcome back to Cake With It, and today's episode is about who I am, and everyone knows that I'm like the macaron master. These are macarons right here, as you can see. They're plastic ones though. I'm obsessed with macarons. I have plastic macarons with me. So yeah, I'm gonna make a cake that looks like a macaron, but is not made like a macaron is made. If that makes sense. A macaron cake. So I begin by baking two 12-inch cakes, and I colored one orange and one blue so it matches my macaron. And then you're gonna simple syrup soak it. I trim the top part of the cake, and then next I'm gonna trim around the cake because macaron shells are dome shape and I want to keep that dome shape. And then next I will trim the caramelization around the cake. Then I repeat the same process with my orange cake, trimming it so it's dome shape, but also trimming the caramelization so the color pops out. So in today's episode, we are straight out of macarons. Yeah, because I got 99 problems and macaron ain't one. I'm gonna crumb coat my cakes even though they are not filled. It's important to crumb coat to catch all the crumbs so that we could put a second layer of buttercream on top. And I want to make sure that when I'm frosting it, that I'm crumb coating it, that we keep the dome shape that we work hard on sculpting. And then you chill. And this cake is very important that you chill. No, this one it is, because we're gonna sandwich them on top of each other, and you got a heavy cake on top, and you got a heavy on top of a bottom cake, and it's carved like a bowl kind of way. So you have to chill for this cake. You chill the cake. Chill it. I'm crazy. It's sad, but I'm crazy. After I chill both of my cakes, I'm gonna buttercream them again so that they're smooth, and again keeping the shape of the original cake that we carved out. And like I said, it's important to crumb coat so that we don't have specks of blue crumbs all over our cake, and then when we put the fondant it would show. So you want to make sure it's smooth and frosted, and then you chill again. And in case you haven't noticed, my favorite color in the whole world is orange. And yes, I did paint this wall. It has orange and blue, so my macarons will be orange and blue. Next, I'm going to roll my blue fondant, and I'm going to use cornstarch to roll it. And I want to make sure it's even, and I pop any air bubbles as necessary as I go to make sure it's smooth, like a macaron shell. And then I'm going to use my rolling pin and roll it on the rolling pin, and then slowly unravel it, is that the word? All over the cake. Afterwards, I smooth it out with my fondant smoother. And I'm going to use a very sharp X-Acto knife to trim around the macaron first, because I want to leave a gap of buttercream, and that's where the ruffle will go. Next, I'm going to use Mr. Ruler. Hey, Mr. Ruler. Because yeah, I'm very picky about the cakes. So I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm going to measure it evenly around the cake by scoring it first,
and then going back with my X-Acto knife later to actually cutting around the cake. And like I said, I want to leave a little gap in between the cake because I'm going to make a buttercream ruffle, because macarons have feet, and that will be the feet. I then grab a cake board and put it on top of the cake and invert it like a boss, and that is going to be our bottom shell. I grab leftover buttercream that I have separated, and I add blue food coloring to try and match it or even make it a little lighter than my blue colored fondant. And I'm just gonna grab some with my offset spatula, and I'm just gonna slowly dab it on the cake. Dab it on the cake until it looks ruffled.
So for the filling, I'm gonna use scraps from the cake and then shape them into a giant flat cake ball. And the filling of a macaron goes in the center, sandwiched. You know what? I have a funny story to tell you. This cookie right here made me cry. It made me cry so bad. In culinary school, they told us they turn out and sometimes they don't. And I had to master it. And I spent a month to 2 months and spent more than like $500 on almond flour trying to perfect the macaron, and it was worth it. And maybe I'll show you depending how many likes and comments and what is that called? Bell post notification. So subscribe, share, like, and comment, and then maybe I'll show you how to make the perfect macaron, and that will be our secret.
I grab all my cake scraps, and I thought it'd be cool to mix the orange and blue, and I was. I'm gonna add buttercream to it and just mash it again with my hands until I get Play-Doh consistency, and press it on a 12-inch cake pan and chill it. Now I rolled my orange fondant, which looks so beautiful, and I'm gonna use the same technique. So I'm just gonna roll it big enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna use my rolling pin to pick it up by rolling it, and then I'm gonna drape it down the cake. And again, it doesn't have to cover it perfect because we're not covering the whole shell cake, just enough to cover the cake. And then I'm going to use my fondant smoother to smooth the cake and make sure it's nice. And again, Mr. Ruler, I'm going to use him to mark around and just make a mark around the cake, because later on I will go back and cut through the fondant and then leave that gap again for the ruffled edges. Now I go over with my X-Acto knife again and I cut around the cake. Make sure you do not go into the cake to remove the bottom part. So there's something unique I did for the filling, and I will show you. I take the filling out of the fridge and I'm only gonna cover the edges. I softened some fondant I had left over, and I'm gonna roll it. And it doesn't matter how long you roll it, because you're gonna need as many pieces depending on how big your cake is. But I rolled mine and I got exactly maybe 2.5 rulers, and I used the ruler as my guide, and I actually ended up cutting the fondant the width of the ruler. I buttercreamed the edges of the filling and I put the fondant on the edge and just smooth it out, and try to smooth out any irregular surface, because that is the only part that will show on the macaron. And for the fun part, I put more filling on the bottom part of the macaron, well, the bottom shell. That way when I put the filling shell on top, it will stick to the cake, and it ended up coming out pretty good. I didn't put any buttercream next because the fondant strip will stick to the cake, and now I just lay my orange cake on top and adjust everything to make it evenly around the edges. I added orange food coloring to more buttercream, and I used a piping bag this time to help me just color in the top of the shell. And then I'm going to use my offset spatula to dab around it and make it look like it has ruffles, kind of like the bottom shell does for the macaron feet. I then use my offset spatula to clean up any orange or blue buttercream that was on the filling, and again clean up the shell so that I don't have ruffles and not buttercream all over the shell. For some final touches, I rolled some blue fondant that I had left. I cut them into strips, and it doesn't matter what size, and you're gonna roll it up, and I use a spoon to roll it up, and you want to leave them dry overnight before you try putting them on top of your cake, or they'll collapse. I can't wait to see what the inside looks of this cake. So I ended up cutting it, of course, and it is so beautiful. It is a macaron cake, and it's not made like a macaron. It just looks like a macaron. I love the colors. I just love blue and orange. That is my favorite colors. This cake made me happy. Now watch this cake strut down the runway, and I can't wait to show you what other cakes I have coming up. So make sure you subscribe and you share this video and hit the bell post notifications